She was powerful, not because she wasn't scared, but because she went on so strongly, despite the fear. Atticus Sigma ladies, have you ever felt like the world underestimates you? Like you move through life with quiet power, yet people fail to grasp your depth? Society is wired to recognize the loud, the flashy, the obvious, but the most formidable forces? They move in silence. Today we're diving deep into why people completely miss the brilliance of Sigma females and why it's their loss, not yours. From the way we navigate relationships to the way we dominate in our own lane, the world keeps sleeping on us. But don't worry, their ignorance doesn't dim our fire. Before we get started, if you're a true Sigma lady, unshaken, unstoppable, and unapologetically yourself, make sure to subscribe to the Sigma Lady and join the movement. Let's show the world why being underestimated is our greatest advantage. 1. They mistake silence for weakness. In a world that equates volume with confidence, silence is often misunderstood. Most people assume that if someone isn't constantly asserting themselves, speaking over others, or making their presence impossible to ignore, then they must be weak. But Sigma females know that silence is not submission, it's strategy. When a Sigma female is quiet, it's not because she lacks thoughts, opinions, or the ability to command a room. It's because she chooses when and where to speak. She absorbs, she analyzes, and she waits for the right moment to make her impact. Unlike those who waste their words on meaningless chatter, a Sigma female's voice carries weight because she doesn't throw it around carelessly. This makes people uneasy. They don't understand why she doesn't feel the need to jump into every conversation or prove herself constantly. They mistake her measured approach for insecurity, when in reality it's the opposite. She knows that the most powerful moves are often made in silence. Her quiet strength is a problem for those who rely on intimidation or dominance to assert themselves. They expect her to react, to argue, to seek validation. But a Sigma female doesn't play into those expectations. She doesn't need to be the loudest person in the room, because she already owns the space in ways they can't comprehend. And by the time they realize the depth of her power, it's too late. She's already made her move. 2. She's not seeking approval, and that's unsettling. Most people are conditioned to seek validation. From childhood, society teaches us that we should strive for approval, from parents, teachers, bosses, peers, and even strangers on social media. The need to be liked, accepted, and praised drives many people's choices, behaviors, and even their self-worth. But Sigma females, they operate on a completely different frequency. They don't chase approval because they don't need it. They trust themselves, their instincts, and their path. Their confidence comes from within, not from applause. This makes people uncomfortable. When someone refuses to play the game of validation seeking, it disrupts the social balance. People expect women, in particular, to be agreeable, to seek affirmation, and to care deeply about being liked. A Sigma female, however, doesn't mold herself to fit anyone's expectations. She defines her own value, independent of public opinion. This independence is often mistaken for arrogance, coldness, or even rebellion. Some people assume that because a Sigma female doesn't actively seek their approval, she must think she's better than them. But the truth is simpler. She just doesn't care about external validation. And that's why people sleep on her. They don't understand how someone can be so self-contained, so free from the need to be seen, acknowledged, or celebrated. But while they're busy chasing recognition, she's out there building a life that speaks for itself. 3. She's unpredictable in a world that labels people like things that are easy to define. They want to categorize others quickly, introvert or extrovert, leader or follower, bold or shy. The problem? Sigma females don't fit into any predefined box. Society struggles with those who don't conform to expected patterns. When a woman is outspoken, she's labeled as dominant. When she's quiet, she's seen as submissive. But what happens when she's both and neither? What happens when she moves fluidly between confidence and mystery, solitude and engagement, bold action and quiet reflection? It confuses people. A Sigma female is unpredictable, not because she enjoys being mysterious, but because she is simply authentic. She doesn't live her life based on what people expect. She does what feels right, what serves her goals, and what aligns with her values. Some days, she's deeply introspective, enjoying her own company in solitude. Other days, she steps forward and commands a room with effortless authority. This inconsistency, at least in society's eyes, makes people uncomfortable. They don't know how to approach her, how to categorize her, or how to anticipate her next move, and that makes them underestimate her. They assume that if they can't predict her, then she must not be a threat. But what they fail to realize is this: her unpredictability is her greatest weapon. When you can't be placed in a box, you can't be controlled. When you don't fit into a stereotype, no one can preemptively counter your moves. While others are busy playing their expected roles, the Sigma female is making her own rules. By the time they realize she's been operating at a different level, she's already miles ahead. 4. She's selective with her energy. Most people spread themselves thin, trying to be liked by everyone. They engage in small talk, force themselves into draining social situations, and entertain relationships that don't serve them, just to avoid conflict or loneliness. But a Sigma female, she values her energy like a rare currency. She doesn't waste it on meaningless interactions, fake friendships, or energy-draining situations. She is selective, not because she's antisocial, but because she refuses to dilute her presence. This selectivity is often misunderstood. People take offense when a Sigma female doesn't engage with them the way they expect. They assume she's rude, aloof, or uninterested. But in reality, she simply doesn't pretend to care when she doesn't. When she chooses to give someone her time, it's intentional. She's fully present, deeply engaged, and genuinely invested. But if she doesn't, it's not personal. It's just that she's reserving her energy for things that actually matter. This ability to say no without guilt makes her stand out. While others force themselves into uncomfortable situations out of obligation, she walks away without hesitation. She understands that protecting her peace is more important than pleasing others, and that's why people sleep on her. They assume that because she isn't constantly in the mix, she's not relevant. But what they don't realize is that while they're scattering their energy everywhere, she's focused, recharged, and always ready to strike when it truly matters. 5. She operates on depth, not small talk. In a world obsessed with surface-level interactions, Sigma females stand out for their depth. While most people are comfortable discussing trivial topics, celebrity gossip, social trends, or the latest drama, a Sigma female craves something more substantial. She's not interested in shallow conversations. She seeks real, meaningful exchanges. This mindset often makes people uncomfortable. They expect easy, effortless interactions, but a Sigma female is not one for empty words. If she's speaking to you, it's because there's a purpose behind it. If she's asking questions, they aren't superficial. They're designed to reveal who you truly are beneath the surface. This depth can intimidate people. Many aren't used to such honesty, such directness, or such a refusal to engage in meaningless chatter. They find her intense or too serious because she doesn't engage in gossip or force herself into discussions that don't interest her. But in reality, she's just unwilling to waste time on things that don't contribute to her growth. That's why people overlook her. They assume that because she's not constantly talking, she's not engaged. But what they don't realize is that she's watching, analyzing, and absorbing everything. And when she does speak, her words have a weight that others simply can't match. 6. She doesn't over-explain, she just moves. Society has conditioned many people, especially women, to explain themselves constantly. They feel the need to justify their decisions, reassure others, and soften their actions to avoid making people uncomfortable. But a Sigma female, she doesn't play that game. When she makes a decision, she doesn't over-explain it. She doesn't feel the need to justify why she chose a certain career path, ended a relationship, or walked away from a toxic friendship. She just moves. This lack of explanation confuses people. They expect a reason, a debate, or at least some reassurance that her choice makes sense to them. But the Sigma female doesn't seek approval, and she certainly doesn't owe anyone an explanation. She trusts herself enough to act without seeking validation. People often mistake this for arrogance or even recklessness. They think that because she doesn't explain herself, she must not know what she's doing. But what they fail to understand is that she's already thought everything through. She just doesn't feel the need to announce it. This quiet confidence is unsettling to those who rely on external validation. They don't know how to deal with someone who doesn't need their opinion, who doesn't hesitate before making a move, and who walks away without a second thought. That's why people sleep on the Sigma female. They assume that if she's not explaining herself, she must be unsure. But the truth is, she's already 10 steps ahead, and she doesn't have time to wait for them to catch up. 7. She's immune to manipulation. In a world where many people survive by controlling others, whether through guilt, flattery, or subtle psychological games, a Sigma female is the ultimate anomaly. She sees through manipulation effortlessly, making her impossible to control. Most people fall for manipulation because they seek validation or fear conflict. They want to be liked, accepted, and included. But a Sigma female, she doesn't need external approval to feel whole. This makes her the hardest person to deceive because the usual tactics, emotional blackmail, gaslighting, guilt-tripping, simply don't work on her. Manipulative people thrive on insecurity, and when they encounter a Sigma female, they realize she's built differently. She doesn't second-guess herself. She doesn't let others rewrite her reality, and she doesn't tolerate dishonesty. The moment she senses someone trying to manipulate her, she cuts them off without hesitation. This makes some people resent her. They're used to getting their way, bending others to their will, and controlling situations through psychological tactics. But with a Sigma female, they hit a wall, an unshakable woman who refuses to play their games. That's why people sleep on her. They assume that because she's quiet, independent, and self-contained, she must be an easy target. But by the time they realize she's immune to their tactics, she's already moved on, leaving them powerless in her wake. 8. She can walk away from anything without regret. Most people struggle with detachment. They stay in jobs they hate, relationships that drain them, and friendships that no longer serve them, simply because walking away feels too hard. But a Sigma female, she's built for it. She understands that holding on to things out of fear, guilt, or obligation only weakens her. When something no longer aligns with her values, she lets it go without hesitation. She doesn't dwell on the past. She doesn't second-guess herself. And she doesn't waste time on what-ifs. This terrifies people. They don't understand how she can be so decisive, so unwavering in her choices. They mistake her ability to walk away as coldness or detachment, but in reality, it's strength. She knows that her energy is precious, and she refuses to spend it on things that don't serve her. This makes some people feel disposable, but the truth is, she only walks away when she has to. If someone values and respects her, she will give them the same in return. But the moment she senses disrespect, dishonesty, or toxicity, she's gone. And that's why people sleep on her. They assume that because she's kind and independent, she'll always be there. But when they push too far, they learn the hard way. A Sigma female doesn't beg, doesn't cling, and never looks back. 9. She thrives in solitude, while others fear it. Most people dread being alone. They see solitude as loneliness, as something to be avoided at all costs. They surround themselves with noise, distractions, and constant social interactions to escape their own thoughts. But a Sigma female, she thrives in solitude. For her, being alone isn't something to fear, it's a source of power. Solitude is where she regains her energy, sharpens her mind, and focuses on her goals without outside interference. While others crave company to feel complete, she finds completeness within herself. This self-sufficiency intimidates people. Many can't understand how someone can be so at peace in their own presence. They assume that if she's spending time alone, she must be sad, antisocial, or missing out. But in reality, she's living on her own terms, free from the pressure of constant validation. People often mistake her independence for isolation, but they couldn't be more wrong. She enjoys meaningful connections. She just doesn't depend on them. Unlike those who fear being alone with their thoughts, she welcomes the stillness, knowing it strengthens her in ways most people will never experience. That's why people sleep on her. They assume that if she isn't always social, she must not be relevant. But what they don't realize is that while they're filling their time with distractions, she's quietly building a life that doesn't require anyone else to complete it. 10. She wins without seeking recognition. Some people chase success for the applause. They want to be seen, acknowledged, and admired for their achievements. Their motivation comes from external validation, and they measure their worth by how much attention they receive. But a Sigma female? She's different. She doesn't seek recognition, she seeks mastery. She isn't motivated by likes, awards, or status. Her drive comes from within, and she pursues excellence for its own sake, not for the approval of others. This confuses people. They expect her to announce her victories, to seek credit, or to demand acknowledgement. But while they're busy looking for applause, she's already moved on to the next goal. Her success isn't for show, it's for her own fulfillment. Because she doesn't chase recognition, people often underestimate her. They assume that if she isn't broadcasting her achievements, she must not have any. But then, out of nowhere, she rises. While others are talking, she's working. While they're seeking attention, she's perfecting her craft. And by the time they realize what she's accomplished, it's already too late to catch up. That's why people sleep on the Sigma female. They mistake her quiet focus for insignificance. But when they finally notice her, she's already won, and she did it without needing their approval. Sigma ladies, here's the truth. Let them sleep on you. Let them misunderstand your silence, misinterpret your independence, and overlook your strength. Because by the time they realize who you are, it'll be too late for them to catch up. The world isn't built for those who move in silence. It rewards the loud, the flashy, the ones who seek attention. But true power, it doesn't need an audience. It thrives in the unseen, the unnoticed, the underestimated. So embrace it. Let them think you're not a threat. Let them overlook your presence, because when the time comes, you'll move in ways they never saw coming. If this resonated with you, make sure to subscribe to the Sigma Lady, because this is a space where we don't seek validation, we seek elevation. Until next time, stay sharp, stay unstoppable, and most importantly, stay Sigma.